Von Radio, the voice of the Eastern Caribbean, the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, for another weekly edition of the On the Mark Show. I am Troy Liebert, and I will be with you tonight for 2 hours of uninterrupted talk radio. You know, some people ask, how do you do it? Sometimes we come alone and, you know, we talk, and we, of course, we listen to you, the general public. We have our callers, but sometimes we come and we have some guests. And this week is one of those weeks when we have some guests, and I have some very important guests here in the studio, and in a few minutes I will introduce them to you. But before that, let me do a little intro, you know. At the top of the show, we always like to welcome in our regular listeners, and as of late, it's not just being listeners, it's been listeners and viewers, because not only can you get On the Mark via the radio and the internet now, but you can get On the Mark via social media. So we are live on YouTube Live. You go to YouTube and you type in Von Radio, you like the Von Radio, you subscribe to Von Radio, and then you can see the live link. And of course, we have Von Radio on Facebook Live. So you go to Facebook Live and you look up Von Radio, you like the page, and then you can see us live and direct. I am wearing a kind of bluish type of shirt tonight, so if you're not seeing me, I want you to either go on YouTube or go on Facebook. Get close to some Wi-Fi. I don't want you to use up all of your data, because I know that data is expensive. So get close to some Wi-Fi, go on the tablet, go on the cell phone, go on Facebook, go on YouTube, tune in to Von Radio, because it's On the Mark. We're live and we are going to have a wonderful time tonight. I want to welcome all of our viewers and listeners from the four corners of the earth. I know we have people in the Far East. It's kind of close to morning, and I know you have your phone or your radio next to you, and you are tuned in to hear what's going on back home. Please feel welcomed. I know we have persons over there in Europe, in England and France and those areas, and it's the wee hours of the morning. I want to thank you for staying up with us, getting a little bit of what's going on here on the home front, and we really, really appreciate the fact that you stay up to listen. It always warms my heart when I get a WhatsApp message from somebody saying, you know, we're over here in England, and we always tune into On the Mark. It's really late up here, but we stay up because we want to know what's happening back home. So that always makes me feel good. Back in the Western Hemisphere, of course, we have persons listening from as far north as Canada, way up in Canada, all the way down to Guyana in the south. And I want to welcome everybody. Of course, here in the Federation, On the Mark is the show. And I want to thank all of you who support us week after week. We really appreciate it. Of course, our callers, the show could never be what it is without our callers. You call in, you form your views, and you call in and you give us your views. And of course, we really appreciate the fact that you are always respectful with your views. So we expect to have a wonderful show tonight. So stay tuned. Of course, at the top of the show, we like to send out birthday greetings and so on to all of those persons who are celebrating. So if you know you were celebrating a birthday, or if your anniversary was this week, we want to say a special birthday or anniversary to you. I know quite a few persons who were celebrating, but I've been instructed by those persons who I know. They said they don't want their name called on the radio. They don't want everybody to hear their names. So my good friends who are celebrating, you know who you are. Happy birthday. I also want to send out a special happy anniversary to my parents. They celebrated their anniversary. Let me check my phone to make sure I have the calendar right. Yes, I know what the date of today is. They celebrated their anniversary yesterday on the 27th, and they have been married now for quite a long time, I think I'm 37 or so. Yeah, yeah, I know. I qualified to go to Eric dance now. I'm going to talk about that in a few. But they have been married for about that long, and you know, I want to continue to wish them all of the best, you know, and I think they enjoyed it, and I want them to continue to enjoy another 37. Okay. Um, of course, while we have persons who are celebrating, we also have persons who would have suffered loss, and I want to send out condolences to anyone who has suffered loss. I'm aware of the death of Mrs. Claristine Freeman of Rollins, and she is the wife of the late great David Freeman, and I want to send out condolences to the family, especially to her children, and especially Colin, who I know very well, and Clyde, or Gripe as we call him. He was my high school teacher and one of my, you know, really, we became really good friends. So I want to send out condolences to them. I also want to send out condolences to the family of Violet Atherton of Brown Pasture. She passed away a few days ago. I was actually shocked when I heard about that, but I want to send out my condolences to the entire family and to all of her children and everybody. Well, Brangel was my classmate, so I want to send special condolences to him and to say to the family to hold on. God is in the midst. Okay? I have a few announcements. The Honorable Eric Evelyn has given me a few announcements. He wants me to remind the general public that the Empire Sports Club, they are having their anniversary dance on Saturday, December 1st, and that's going to be at Rivera House from 10 p.m. until 3 a.m. It's a 35 and over dance, and Casanova will be in the house along with DJ Wolf. The admission to enter is $20. So it's the Empire Sports Club anniversary dance on Saturday, December 1st at Rivera House. The dance kicks off at 10 p.m. It ends at 3 p.m. If you're 35 and over, you qualify to come to this dance. It's going to be the Casanova Band along with DJ Wolf, and $20 will get you in. Also, the Gingerama Committee, they are going to be having a dance this coming Friday, November 30th, at the Cultural Village. That's the Cultural Village in town. Never mind, you hear me say it's the Gingerama Committee. They are having a dance Friday night in the Cultural Village in town. The admission to get you in is $25. The acts that they will have: the Grandmasters Band out of St. Kitts, the Collision Band out of St. Kitts, DJ Terror, and the Ecstasy Sound. So we have the Gingerama Committee having their dance on Friday, November 30th, this coming Friday, at the Cultural Village. $25 gets you in. The Grandmasters Band will be there, Collision Band will be there, DJ Terror will be there, and Ecstasy Sound will be there. So I hope that we are going to see a lot of you folks coming out to enjoy both events. So on the Friday night, you have a dance in the village. On Saturday night, you have an over 35 dance at Rivera House. Okay, so that's it for our notices. At the top of the show, I said that we had some guests tonight, and my guests tonight are from the One Love Rastafari movement here on the island of Nevis. I have with me Ras Marcus, and he's the president of the movement. I have with me Empress Shelley, the secretary, and Ras Iroy, and he is the co-chair of the movement. And they are going to be here for the better part of the show, and they will be bringing some pertinent information to you, the general public, about just what the One Love Rastafari movement has been doing in Nevis and will continue to do in Nevis. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, Empress. Welcome to the studios of Van Radio, and welcome to On the Mark.
Yeah, greetings, fraternal greetings. In the name of His and Her Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie and Empress Menen, who has spread love among I and I. We hail him as our Savior and King, and the returning Messiah, Rastafari. Within the concept of Rastafari, we usually, in any session that I and I host, we usually started out with a prayer, giving thanks, and glorifying our wonderful Savior. So tonight is just one of them exceptions, How good, how pleasant it is. And I rise in the land of the living to glorify and to magnify Haile Selassie and Empress Menen. As I and I go through the evening, oh Father, we're asking you for your guidance and protection. We're going out and we're coming in. We ask you to stand before us in the presence of our enemies. That when we call upon your name, Rastafari, in the heart of the heathen is terrible and dreadful. We want to thank you for the food. We want to thank you for the clothing. We want to thank you for the shelter. We want to thank you for the seed, the soil, the herb that grow, the moon, stars, and the sun that glow. We want to thank you for your wisdom, for your knowledge and your understanding, for good health and strength to prevail, so we conquer all weak our conception we try to get in our way. You want to hear our plea and hear our cry, and to stretch forth your hand closer unto God, we Africans. Whether we travel on land, seas, or air, over the hills or through the valley, you have given us the inspiration, we have the aspiration to carry on. You have given us the conviction, we have the courage, the strength, and the determination to hold on. So we can organize and centralize ourselves by coming together as one under the red, gold, and green for the advancement of Rastafari. For the call of redemption is at hand. For salvation has come for those who accept the omnipotent one, the author of our life, the most revered and most renowned, Christ in his kingly character, Haile Selassie, Rastafari.
You want to continue, Iroy, or?
Yes, I say greetings in the divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie and Empress Menen, our great ancestors, the great gods and goddesses of the ancient black eternal race. Yeah, man, give thanks for the elders, give thanks for the ancestors, and the elders and the kings and queens, and all of Rastafari, give thanks to Van Radio and the Mark for having us here. And we hope to share with you tonight some important information. We also on a membership drive, so we are expecting to see some more Rastafari brethren and sisters start coming around and support the movements. But we'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
Greetings and blessed love to ones and ones out there listening. My name is Empress Naki Shelley, as was mentioned before, and I just want to give thanks for the eyes for just tuning in and listening to what we have to offer tonight. Blessing.
Okay, so Ras Marcus, we've been having a little discussion, and you have told me that there's quite a bit going on with the One Love Rastafari movement, and I'm sure that the public, the general public out there is very interested to know what you have been up to, and I think you told me that there is a conference that's coming up shortly, so perhaps you can fill the general public in on that and just give us a general overview of some of the things that you have been working on in the community and within the group as a whole.
Yeah, give thanks. The Rastafari, the One Love Rastafari movement is now in existence for about 10 years, you know. Actually, we first exist in Barnsgott. Then we move from there and go at the Natural Liberty. You know, Natural Liberty is based in Newcastle, right in front of the Patry, you know. And we meet there every Saturday evening from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon until such time in the evening. We host students, you know, from in the St. James area, where our matriarch, Empress Shelley, you know, she will conduct classes, while some others, they will be going on the farm, because they have a little organic farm there, which, you know, they plant up with different fruits, vegetables, and so on. It's all organic, you know, and part of what we're doing right now is to try to get the children to go eat more healthy. So we organize a farm for those children, and that's one of the things they do on a Saturday afternoon. And then the members, we meet from about 6 o'clock, you know, gather, we chant, you know, we pray, you know, we should document, and then we go into serious reasoning, you know, things that affecting Rastafari.
And what would you say are the things that are the major issues for you, the things that you would say are the major things affecting your group and, as you see, the community as a whole?
Well, you know, Rastafari been on a drive, you know, for decriminalization or legalization, whichever way. You know, Rastafari would say legalization are the good herb, you know. And then we also fighting for reparation, you know, the wrong that have been done to I people over the past 400 or 500 years, when I was brought to the West as a slave, you know, and the worst atrocity in mankind ever happened to humanity, you know. And then we look for an equal, we have an equal opportunity in society as any individual person. Not because we Rastafari, you know, we want an equal opportunity in a society just like any other individual person. We are a spiritual organization, a way of life, a liberty that you never seen, you know, anywhere else but within Rastafari. So we look for that right, you know. Give thanks.
Okay. Empress, I see you have a book of notes. You have anything to
Not really a book, but
to add?
just to add a few more details to what Marcus started talking about the Saturday classes. We do start classes at 3 p.m. from 3 p.m. The children, most are from the community, but we do have children who come from other communities around Nevis, and it's more of an African-centered educational class activities being done, something that is a little different from the regular classroom activities, where we discuss a lot about our African culture, way of life. We introduce a lot of craft. We have a lot of coconut shells and what do you call calabash around. So we would use a lot of those things to make, you know, craft and to make some craft with the children. Yes, we do have the little organic garden where they would plant the little vegetables. But we do more than just planting these things. We actually have a lesson on agriculture. Because I would do most of that, as he is into more of the agriculture than I am. And where he would, you know, teach them a lot about the making compost, which will also assist those children that we have in the high school, because agricultural science is being taught in the high school, and they have to do a lot of that. So it would, you know, encourage them to get more into the agriculture. We also have a rabbit activity going on, where the children would take care of the rabbit, feed them, make sure that they are healthy. It's a way of teaching them to, it's like using what we call the rites of passage, where the children would learn how to take care of, you know, I don't want to use the word babies, but, you know, at that stage from birth, go right up to when we transition. So it's a lot more on the African-centered side, mixed with a little bit of agriculture and even Nevis culture. And then we move into, you know, our regular gathering. But we do a lot.
So the children would, this activity is done at the school, or is the activity done at your normal meeting place? I know you said you meet weekly on a Saturday.
Yes.
That's over in Potworks. So that's where you do the teaching.
Most of
Nisbet,
it's opposite the pottery.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right opposite the pottery there. Yes, it's more it's done mostly at the farm.
Okay.
The agriculture, but I also do a bit of tutoring for those children, mostly primary school level and first, second farmers, with a bit of the language art and as well as homework assistance, which I would, you know, sometimes do that at the school, and I would take them to the farm just to get out of that classroom, you know, thing as well.
And where do you normally recruit the young people, the students? Are they all from one school, or do they come from other schools to be a part of the program?
Most of the children are from the area, because I am teaching at the St. James's Primary School, so most of those children are recruited from that school. But when they do go on to the high school and they pick up their friends, they will bring their friends along, which will come from, there are some that come from the Gingerland area, one or two that comes from the Gingerland area with those friends in that community. So, and I pull along my nieces and nephews as well. So it's a mix, it's a mixed thing.
Okay, that's wonderful. You know, lately, over the past few years, in general, we've seen that there has been a movement back to natural foods and natural medication and so on. How does what you're doing fit into that sort of a movement back to a more natural way of living?
I'm glad you asked that question. I'm really glad you asked that question, because we do teach a lot about healthy eating, and one of the reasons why we have that garden going at the Natural Liberty Farm is to introduce our children to from the farm to the pot kind of thing. So what you grow is what you really should be eating, and we teach them to use things like the neem to spray you know, those little bugs and worms that you would see on your plant, instead of the dangerous chemicals that go into your food. We also use a lot of those vegetables. We would contribute a lot to the St. James Primary School lunch. You know, we would, because a lot of the members of One Love are farmers. We contribute, you know, those farm products to the pot, which we know are more organic and healthier for the children. We also started what you call a recycling tire organic backyard garden at the St. James's Primary School, where we move now to a wider range of children from kindergarten to grade 6 at the St. James School, who goes to the garden and they would plant their vegetables, learn about the different germination and what they see first and so on. And then they will see that go right into their pot on their lunch and on their plate at lunchtime. And they know that because they're eating healthy, their brain works better and they perform a lot better in school.
Okay, that sounds very, very good. So one of the things that you do at the One Love Rastafari is to help to educate some of our young people about a natural way of living. How have you seen that in some of the folks that, because I know you've been doing this for quite a while, some of the folks who you've had as youngsters who have now grown up, how have you seen that had an influence on them? Because I know that in our society now, we tend to see, society tends to see a lot of the negativity in the young people more than the positive things. So how has it been with the persons who have come up under your tutelage?
Well, as you say, because of society and friends out there, but I think they're trying. I've seen great difference. There were a few youths that I also taught them in school. We were giving a bit, what we would say, trouble children. But with that kind of teaching and understanding of how it used to be, how our ancestors used to deal with our issues, our what we call problems, and being able to teach that to the youth, I think they were able to, think before they do certain actions. And I think it kind of calmed them down, or what we say, humble them before, you go out there and do something out of the way, as you must say. I think they were able to remember, okay, we were taught this is how we're actually supposed to act, because our ancestors did this and it worked then. So I think, it is working. It calls for more education, because a lot of time it's we as adults and, going into their own household, it might be a little bit of a challenge to kind of balance it off. But I think, with more education and educating parents and the adults now in the community, it could work.
Okay. So Empress, you've been doing most of the talking, and the two gentlemen, they have been very, very quiet. And I guess it's been ladies first, right? So I want to bring the two gentlemen into the conversation a bit more. So, Iroy?
Yes. Maybe I can just share some bits of information with you. I too want to backtrack a bit and speak of, just mention some of the things that we would have been involved in. We do have a regular calendar which would entail our Black Story Month activities, which would range from donating educational materials to schools, food hampers to elders within our community, radio programs, educational programs like this one. These are just some of the things that we would do during the Black History Month. We make sure that we celebrate those very important days within Rastafari, like African Liberation Day, May 25th. We have Haile Selassie's Earth Day on July 23rd. We have November 2nd, which is one of the real important dates within Rastafari, which is the coronation or the crowning of Haile Selassie and Empress Menen. That's on November 2nd. And so these major dates are celebrated in what we call groundations, which would involve the lighting of the Nyabinghi fire, or what we call the Judgment Fire. And around that fire we would be singing and chanting psalms and beating drums and, you know, partaking of a holy sacrament, you know, throughout the evening. And that's just how we do it when it comes to some of those activities. Others are celebrated a little differently. Sometimes it may just be a newspaper article or a radio program. We continue to share our knowledge with the schools. We keep volunteering in terms of assisting children with their social studies or sociology, SBAs. You know, these are things that we do free of cost because we see it as our civic duty. We see it as our responsibility when it comes to adhering to our creed. We would have gotten involved in some community projects, you know, in conjunction with government, past and present, facilitators from overseas and so on. And I would mention these because we do seek the assistance of the general public in terms of funds and all that. And so it's good when the public could get an idea as to, you know, where the money is actually going back. And I must also mention that the work that we are doing, that Empress Shelley is doing, this is all voluntary work because we have never given up in terms of homework assistance and all these things. So these are all coming from the Rastafari community. We have adopted about 4 schools. Graduation and sports, they are a regular contribution on an annual basis. We actually have a program called Special Efforts Award where the top child, our criteria boils it down to, you know, the child who is most deserving depending on their efforts and improvements and so on. And we choose one child from about 4 primary schools, those schools that we partner with, along with the children that are part of the African Centered Program. And we actually have a ceremony, a prize giving and ceremony at our farm at Natural Liberty, where the children and their parents and the school teachers are invited. And, you know, we give certificate, we give cash prize, we give some school supplies. And these are all done through the contributions from the organization to our hard work. And so it is important that you see Rastafari at work within your community, because gone are the days when we expect to be treated as the outcasts of society, as Brother Marcus would have said. You know, we are no less and deserve no less than the rest of the citizens. And so I would want to encourage a lot of ones and ones out there to really, you know, support the One Love Rastafari movement. We are just a continuation of the works of Rastafari that a lot of our elders would have started in the past. And I want to give thanks to a lot of those elders, especially our elder of our house. We have 3 elders of our house, Elder Iba, Elder Mansa, and Elder Timba, you know, and, you know, just to hold in the faith through all the oppression that Rasta would have gone through, just to still be in here, healing Rastafari, you know, it's commendable. And so, you know, with our elders amongst us, we as the younger ones, and yes, I said the younger ones, because I'm still, within One Love, I'm still considered a youngster. You know, it gives that sense of direction, because, you know, we maintain that African lifestyle where the elders first, and, you know, that order and respect, which is something we would have lost in society. We continue to be agitators, we continue to be human rights activists, and as we say, we now bow. You know, we continue to hit at the governments when we see that they are lacking in terms of what we would call true representation. We are living according to our creed, and we would have realized when Marcus Garvey and Haile Selassie say we must organize and centralize. And so the One Love Rastafari movement is actually a member of a national organization which is called the Organization of Rastafari in Unity. and that is an umbrella organization. It has membership of other Rastafari organizations in Nevis and in St. Kitts. We meet the first Sunday of every month. We alternate, sometimes in Nevis, sometimes in St. Kitts. And basically we address the issues that Rastafari has in common. Because we have recognized that when the oppression of Babylon comes, it's not picking out who is a Nyabingi or who is a Bobo Shanti. Rastafari is just, attacked or discriminated against. So we realize it's time for I and I to come together and show what true unity can really achieve. And so we are tackling things like the herb, cannabis. We are still insisting that the herb should be free, just like the Father created it, free for the use of man. We are advocating for that. We are willing to compromise and accept legalization. Rastafari and a whole wants to make it clear, though, that there really should not be any restrictions when it comes to Rastafari and the use of the herb, because the use of the herb is really for I and I liberty.
You mean decriminalization?
No, I'm talking legalization. Decriminalization to me is really a waste of time. And it is not really a step towards legalization. There's no reason to decriminalize. We have enough world examples right now. We have enough examples out there for us to eliminate those minor stages and stop accepting the crumbs from the table and go for the big bucks, But yeah, reparation is also one of the things that we are agitating for. It's time that the big countries out there, the beneficiaries of slavery and neocolonialism.
But you have the benefit of On The Mark, and if I could, On The Mark is normally a call-in show, and I hope you gentlemen and lady don't mind if I were to open up the lines, so that if there's anybody out there who wants to call in and of course add their 2 cents to what you're saying, or if anybody has a question that they want to ask you about the things that you're doing in the community, that they can call in, and that is fine. So ladies and gentlemen, we are opening the lines, the numbers of course to call, 869-469-1616 or 869-469-1700, because On The Mark of course is a call-in show, and we like to get the views of our listeners and our callers. Back to you, Ira. You were speaking a bit about reparation, and as you said, rightfully so, that you're one of the younger ones in the movement, and you're still a youngster, but there are youngsters out there who would hear the term reparation and they would not understand what you're talking about when you say reparation, or why you would be talking about reparation, or why you would think that in 2018 speaking about something like reparation is important for us here in the Federation. People might be saying, look, I'm going about my daily life, trying to make ends meet and so on. And, here we have persons coming and telling us, well, let's go agitate for reparation. Why is reparation important to me? So the question that I am asking for you is to perhaps give some perspective for the younger ones out there, for their benefit, that they could understand what it is you mean when you speak about reparation, and why it should be something that is important to us and to them.
The term reparations, repairing a damage, compensation, making the wrong right, paying for the wrongs that you have done, are all things that would give a meaning to reparation. But within this context, what we are speaking of is reparations for slavery. We are speaking of a package, a compensation to the African people of African descent, who would have suffered because of the slave trade and slavery and colonialism, and even up until today. What we are saying is the African man and woman was forcibly removed from Africa. We were removed from our homeland.
One second. We have our first caller. Caller, you're on the mark tonight. Hello? Caller, you're on the mark tonight. Hello? Okay, we seem to be having some trouble with the call. Caller, please try again. We did not get you this time, but please do try again. Go ahead, Ira.
So we were forcibly removed, brought here, and we were made to work for a couple hundred years, and we would have lost a lot. And we would have enriched the British, America, and a lot of the European countries. We would have enriched them through our free labor. And what we're saying is they continue until today to benefit.
Okay, Ira, we have another caller on the phone. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Greetings in the name of our great African ancestors, especially the most honorable Marcus Messiah Gabriel, Queen Nzinga. Hold up to my African sister and brothers there. And let me say a blessed evening to my beloved brother, the Premier of St. Kitts Nevis, the Honorable Mark Lantley. Now, beloved, first let me say, as an African person, and as a young Rastafari person in 1976 who stand up to Bracha and his regime and refused to cut my locks. I was in fourth form and I leave school because nobody make me bow, buckle, or bend. Okay, let's move forward now. My beloved sister and brothers, let me tell you, brothers, your sister and brothers, something. And this is a critical analysis of the Rastafari movement. Let me just talk about St. Kitts Nevis. But it seems like you're going in reverse, beloved, because where's the Rastafari schools? I ain't see no centers. Rastafari community in St. Kitts. I know you brothers and sisters, a little I know about the One Love Rastafari movement. They're doing some good works. I mean, I don't know much, but here this will make maybe about the fifth time I heard your sister and brothers, and different media. There's some good works, but brother, my problem is the Rastafari. Now, I won't say a problem. My constructive criticism of the Rastafari movement in St. Kitts Nevis. Brothers and sisters, I am saying, listen, we got to see ourselves and what we are. We are African people first and foremost. And I see within the Rastafari movement, you push Rastafari first and foremost, instead of your race, beloved. I have seen that and heard that, and that is not right. We African peoples first and foremost. I have no problem with your spirituality whatsoever, whether it's Rastafari, whether it's Shango, any African way of life. But this French utterances, my beloved sister and brothers, we just push Rastafari first and foremost, is only going to isolate our youths. It's only going to isolate our youth. We must get a Pan-African agenda. My beloved sister and brothers, that must be it. And within that agenda, Rastafari is part of the Pan-African agenda, the global Pan-African agenda. Pan-Africanism must be the center for our foundation. Must be at all times, beloved sister and brothers. That's the problem now let me say not no problem. I keep saying problem. That's the constructive criticism I have of the Rastafari movements globally. We must start pushing this thing, man. We must push a Pan-African agenda first and foremost. Brothers, sister and brothers, like I said, I have no problem with that. It's a spirituality, what each of us want to live up to. No problem whatsoever. But we must see ourselves as African people first and foremost. Like one of the brothers said, the calendar that Rastafari, one of Rastafari movement have. I ain't hear nothing whatsoever, brother. I don't know if it was you missed it or what. Of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, how the Rastafari, one of Rastafari movement could get a calendar, right? And it include the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the greatest Pan-Africanist of modern times, beloved brother. How can you do that, beloved? I don't know, like I said, I don't know if is it a slip over then thing. You know, I have no problem with the Emperor Haile Selassie, none whatsoever. That was a great Pan-Africanist, so I have no problem in this man in. But we must, beloved, we must have that Pan-African agenda first and foremost, and we must see ourselves who we are first and foremost. Because, brother, sister, and brother, none of us was born a Rastafari. None of us was born any spiritual way of life. We grow up, we think ourselves to that spiritual way of life, but we were born African girls and boys, and then trans to women and men, beloved brother. So, beloved, I am saying, can you think it's nervous when everything is called? You can't African Liberation Day. I mean, I'm living here in New York for a very long time, you know, but I keep in contact with what's going on there. In case they could have I prefer to say African Square. You don't even have 50 people. African Day celebration. Nowadays, in my days growing up in the 60s, 70s, man, it used to be crowded with Rasila X, Junior Liebert, Melvin Edwards, what about the name? Harmony. That of us. I was a very young man then, a very youth then. Nowadays, you can't even get 50 people, beloved. Man, come on, we got to do some house cleaning, beloved. Can't continue in this vein, man. We got to do some house cleaning. What you said?
I would say maybe I could shed some light, you know, on some of the things that you would have mentioned.
I want to hear from the sister too.
Yeah, okay. First and foremost, I do agree with the things that you're saying, but I was also enlightening you that some of the things that you're saying are exactly some of the things that we are doing. For example, we would have mentioned African Liberation Day, which is not necessarily a Rastafari day. I did not mention Marcus Garvey's Day or Earth Day, but that is only one or two items from our list of activities. That list was in no way exhaustive. I mean, there's so many things that the One Love Rastafari movement is doing. I mean, the things that we celebrate. Kwanzaa is a big celebration for I and I.
That's great.
When we our agenda, the impact, the impression that we are creating in the society, especially when it comes to the consultation with government and so on, it is not just for Rastafari. I mean, we speak for our whole people. Rastafari is something that, of course, we have to uphold and we have to big up, because Rastafari is a special group of people. We have been charged with that responsibility of leading the black nation when everybody else would have curled up and given up in this year time, during this Iowa in these times. Who you hear uplifting the whole blackness? Who you hear uplifting? Who you hear giving thanks and praises? Who is carrying on the tradition for our black people? So it's Rastafari. So it's important that
in most part,
so
beloved. Solely most part.
Right.
I agree with that.
When I speak, I would speak as a Rastafari. First. But in terms of my programs and my mission, it is no, I mean, Rastafari is not just I and I who move around with locks. You know, I mean, just by our works alone. When Haile Selassie was coronated, it was God of humanity, not just of Rastafari. So, you know, it may seem at times, because a lot of people out there are still afraid to come amongst Rastafari. The society out there has successfully managed to keep people away from Rastafari. So these are some of the setbacks that we would have had. I agree you may not have seen the Rastafari Center and the Rastafari School, and these are some of the things that we are still speaking of, and maybe we should have had them a long time ago. But
yeah, we should, brother, because
but just to
brother, not
survive.
cut you off, but it just I between me and you, right? But the Rastafari movement hit Ali Omega and Owali early 70s. Over 40 years, beloved. I don't know how old you are. I'm going to be 60 years next month.
But those 40 years, and let's look at it in honesty, and I'm not saying that what you are claiming isn't so, but those 40 years, Rasta would have gone through a lot of turmoil.
But
just to be
Rastafari.
Rastafari.
That's why I laid out from the beginning the way I went through, beloved.
Look at
all
ganja.
of that. I went through a lot of pressure.
Look at
And
cannabis.
That was one of the reasons I left St. Kitts Nevis, beloved brother, because that time, brother, I wasn't standing for nothing, and I didn't want to see my maternal grandparents cry, beloved brother, because what was in my mind. You know, I know you would not be thinking. I mean, I don't think that way now. But, beloved, but I'm just saying that I know everything. And Rastafari was like used to be. But, like, you could have just shot. And it happened in Dominica.
Caller, we want to give a few other callers an opportunity to
but
get
let me
in.
say again, you know, like I said, the little I know about there, I hear these brothers and sisters. Sister and brother speak about, you know, the little I know about the One Love Rastafari movement. They're doing some great work, but my problem, beloved, again, I need you to think, brother. No problem with you being a Rastafari, but that Pan-African agenda must be first and foremost, and we must see ourselves as who we are. Africans first and foremost. Our spirituality come next, beloved brother. Whether it's Rasta, Shango, whatsoever. Beloved brother, we are African peoples first and foremost. And again, in closing, Pan-Africanism, our person, I'll continue to listen.
Rastafari.
We have another caller on the line. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Yeah, I would like to share part in that thing, right?
What's that?
What?
Caller, I'm not hearing you.
I would like to share part about the rest of the thing there.
Okay.
Hold on, go ahead. Right?
Go ahead.
Hey, I would like to say, our manager was trying to just say lax alone. Hey, I was a hear up to me brethren up there in America. I go say.
Okay, caller. Thank you very much. If you could go ahead educating us
Yes,
about the
because
reparation.
the reparation is very important, and this is a classic because this is where we're talking Pan-Africanism. Reparation is not a Rastafari issue, but however, Rastafari has been the only ones who were saying that they need to pay us back for slavery. They need to compensate us, and we also been talking about returning to Africa. And these are all part of reparation. So what we're saying when we talk about reparation is that slavery would have cost Africa almost everything. Africa was raped of its best, the best brains in everything. And we were brought in the West and dehumanized, classed as property, and went through slavery. But let's fast forward. After the so-called abolition, emancipation was really the time when they split up the reparations. Because after England realized that, hey, we need to end slavery. Some people may attribute this to many others. They may say it's the church, they may say some people feel sorry for the slave. But we can't forget the always rebellious nature of the African man. We never gave up, eh? We were always revolting against slavery. But however, they decided they will emancipate slavery. They will done away with it. And so they totaled up what they, because of course the planters say, well, when you're done with slavery, we are going to lose all this money. We're going to lose our enslaved Africans. We're going to lose our property. And they total all this thing up, and it came up to about, what, 47 billion pounds? And that would have totally bankrupt the economy. And so they made a deal with the planters. They say, listen, we would pay you 20 billion pounds. And the other 27 billion pounds, we will let you work the African people for the next 4 years. And that would total, that labor would total the next 27. So here we had at the end of emancipation, slavery, we, the enslaved African, paying for our own reparations. We actually had to pay the white man, pay the European man. And because they didn't have enough money, they work us for another 4 years, talking about we don't know what we're going to do when we are free, as if we were never free before. And so they actually extracted from I&I about 47 billion pounds. And so we are saying you could go online and Google former British slave owners, and you can see how much money they sold your grandmother for. You can see how much money they sold your great-grandmother for. And you could actually see what they invested that money in. You can see how the money from your great-grandmother was invested in companies like Barclays Bank. And so we are saying that all these years after, the grand and the great-grandchildren of the slave masters are living sky high, comfortable, and they are still benefiting from the blood and sweat and tears of our ancestors. And we say it's time that they pay up. Slavery was a crime against humanity. I don't care what law they say made it right. There's no time in this world when the Most High would give you permission to treat a next man like that. And so we are saying for those years of slavery, you must compensate the black nation. We are not here in the West suffering because we can't do any better. We had the best minds from Africa. It is the shambles that we were left in here today that you, Minister Liebert, got to fight for education. When you were in roads, you see what we had to drive on simply because these countries were raped and they were never left with anything. And then you expect Caribbean governments to turn this place around and make model states. But I must say that we have come a long way. You know, we would have succeeded and governments would have done miraculously at times. But because of how some governments were set up, we still see that fights like reparation are not being put on the table. Some people may ask, what, is it cash? What is it that we're asking for when you talk about reparation? We're talking repair. We want, our minds need to be repaired. When we think about God, we should not think about a white man. These are the damage that has been done to I and I as a people. When we see black, we see something bad. The dictionary has it as something bad. You know, our history teaches that we came here as slaves. No, the African man wasn't running around in no trees in Africa when the white man came there, you know. We had established cities, universities like Timbuktu. It's universities that man went in and raided and took the best out of Africa. Look at Haiti. Toussaint was a general when he came. That's why he was able to beat the white man and gain independence for Haiti. But look at what happened to Haiti. Haiti now got its independence, and I think poor management for some part of it. But then France ended up charging Haiti reparations, saying that because you got your freedom, you damaged the country, and so you got to pay France. And that's some of the reasons why Haiti is so poor, because France has been extracting reparations from Haiti for years. And so we are saying that it's about time that we sit at that table. We are saying that what you got and the comfort that you're in today, you got it at the expense of I&I people by raping and destroying Africa and Africans. And what we're saying is, you know, education.
So I have two questions. The first question is this. what would you say to somebody who says to you that slavery happened, how much ever 100 years ago, and that we live in a different world today, and if we did not get anything for slavery between the time when it happened to now, that there's almost no hope that we are going to get any reparations. So why bother, to fight for reparation that is not coming? Why not focus your talents on doing something for yourself and moving yourself forward? Of course, we know that us as black people here in the Caribbean region, we inherited these islands, but we know the conditions under which we came. But why fight for reparation when that is not forthcoming, when we can try to do things to help ourselves here? That is the first question. The second question is, what is your group doing, or other groups that are associated with your group doing in order to advance the cause for reparation?
Okay, slavery might have taken place some years back, but the remnants of slavery is still very much alive with us. You hear who I told you, you hear the company I mentioned a while ago that was bought by the reparation money of our ancestors, Barclays. We have companies like Rothschild. These are people who have made billions, and their great-grandchildren are still traveling to Four Seasons and yachts every December and so on. So this is not something archaic. I mean, look at our religion, no disrespect. How long ago we say Jesus was here? It was a couple thousand years ago. And yet our entire life is based on that. What we are saying is we never really had the chance to approach reparations on this level for many reasons. Look at now, some countries are still not even independent. So you see the fight. Our minds are still very colonial in the way we think. Our education system doesn't teach us about things like reparation. So our people don't really know about it. And so in terms of the acceptance, it's not really there. So now is the time when you have, like Vice Chancellor Beckles, one of the top guys in UWI, one of the educational institute that we pride in sending our top scholars to. UWI is top on the list when it comes to fighting for reparations. And so we are saying this is something that might have taken place a long time ago, but it is very, very current on the books. There's meetings, discussion, court cases and hearings and so on happening all the time in the advancement for reparations. And I think it's quite timely. I think governments of today need to start looking at reparations. You would never be able to properly build roads, properly educate the masses, have the masses properly under health care, unless you embrace something like reparations, legalization of marijuana, because the continuous taxing on our people could never be enough. We always have to settle for mediocrity. And what I'm saying is, we may not get the cash, but we must have the best health facilities built by them with our money. The best universities and education. We shouldn't have to travel all over there. We should have it here in our country built by them. Because today, because of what our ancestors went through, their children can get it for free. So how can we say something like that is so archaic? It is very current, brothers and sisters. What we are doing, we are a part of the organization of Rastafari in Unity, as I said, and that is a national organization. We are also a part of regional deliberations. We are part of the Caribbean Rastafari organization, CRO. And so in following our creed, we go locally, regionally, and internationally. And so we have that connection. We would have attended certain settings, conferences, and reparation. We would have written, we would have brought letters from CRO to our government, and I'm talking the Denzel Douglas government and the Unity government, agitating for the formation of the reparations committee. Because if you could recall, CARICOM would have mandated that every country form a national reparations committee. And after that meeting, St. Kitts Nevis was lagging. We agitated, the Denzel Douglas put it in place. Government change, and we don't know what has happened to the reparations committee. Parliament actually would have put that committee in place. And so we, over the past years, we would have written to the government, the unity government, federal government, asking them to respect that mandate from CARICOM by reenacting, putting back, reforming a national reparations committee, which had the responsibility of education and prepare the whole reparation thing through the islands. I personally would have called into the office. The letters was received, and we cannot get a response. And what we are saying is the next time CARICOM has some kind of forum here in the Federation, we are going to file a protest. And these are the things that Rastafari has been doing. We cannot stay silent when we watch the wrongs and the ills happening to people in our society. And so we have that moral, we have that civic obligation to our people. And this has nothing to do with Rastafari. This is for our nation, our black people. So reparation in itself will solve a lot of our problems. That heavy taxation for education.
I think we have a caller calling in. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
Good night to the panelists.
Good night.
I'm here sitting and listening to the program. And what I can't understand is 2nd of next month, for my 43 years, we the citizens of this country went to vote to buy our sugar land. I was speaking of, am I on the radio?
Yes, you are.
You are speaking of reparation, right? I more believe if we are not going to focus our minds on owning what we paid for, we must own what we paid for. You are speaking of decriminalizing marijuana. It is an abomination for a man to sleep with a man, but they're legalizing that.
Oh, yeah.
When I smoke my weed, I get sick. But when man go with man, they get sick and they want to tax me to buy the medication. You understand what's going on with Europeans? I want to tell you something to you. Booker, Tate, and Lyle, big beneficiaries out of our great-great-grandparents. How is it we can get what our foreparents work for? How is it the Jews get their money after the Second World War?
Yes.
How come we can't get one? We as a people, as John was saying, citizens look up to need this. That's a failure. We should get together as one. One people will be. One people will put the fight this fight together. It's just this man I hear the Senegalese making noises France for the art, for the thing with the thief out of Africa, what they got in France, in the museum. And then, hey, just we see what black people may understand. Because they may try to rise up, and next black man, they want to pull on that black man who trying to teach them, who kind of ignorant to the truth. It's like the first caller who was on the radio, ain't that criticizing him. If I'm saying it, but he was just sad and T-go and refused to come to St. Kitts. When he sometimes get on the radio and he talk, sometimes I just don't listen to him. Because he ain't want to come to the land of his birth, but he's still from in New York, in Babylon. And this is what going on for what ain't going on. He ain't contributing. Come and put a little helping hand, man. We can continue to listen.
Yeah,
we have another caller. Hold on a second. Let's get the caller. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Tell Mr. Mark hello and Chai and Vance.
Chai is here.
And
how you doing?
Okay. Yeah. See you.
All right. Enjoy your night. We have another caller. Hold on. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Good night, Chai.
Yes, good night.
How things?
Good.
Mr. Pidi? Mr. Pidi, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
How things?
I'm all right.
I like to hear what you said. Yeah, gentlemen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they drive that us the descendants of the enslaved Africans we're talking about, right? It's not going to make much progress until we have the relevant bodies in these islands take up the charge. Let me go ahead and say what I want to say. Now, people like Mr. Pinney Nevis here has been doing a good work in this regard. But I find that the people who can really put some teeth to this thing are not saying much. And what I have noted is that after slavery, you know, the Europeans, they still colonized these islands. And eventually, when they left, what they did was to pass down their model of governance in these islands. And so, until today, in St. Kitts Nevis here, we have what is called the Governor General, who represents what I would say is the highest authority in Europe, or in particular in England. Now, somebody like the Governor General in these islands, to me, are the people who should be taking up the charge for reparation. But will they do that? Well, I have not seen it. What I have seen instead is that they just like to know that they live in high and lofty. And they can say that, oh, I am representing the monarchy. And as such, they don't feel compelled to take up a drive like this. And I'm going to talk more about these things. I'm going to talk out about these things. Because I feel our model of governance don't really fit in with us. It's a European model. And this, Mr. Binney, this is a big part of the problem. So guys like you and your group will try your best. But is the government on board? Is the government on board with you? And I am saying, you cannot go and talk to these people. They're not going to listen to you. These people are only going to listen to the political representatives in these countries. You can bring your proposal to the government, but will the government take it to them? And people like the Governor General, will they take it to them? What I have found in these islands is whereas back then you used to say Lord this and Lord that, and it used to be Europeans. Now what it is honorable this and honorable that, representing the same system. Good night.
Good night. My brother, you drop a word down the last one, man. We have another caller? Just let me take the callers. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Blessed night.
Blessed night.
Greetings and honor in the name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Nicholas the First, and our Imperial Majesty Empress Menin of Asara. Greetings and honor and respect to the ones and ones in the studio tonight who are delivering this format of reparation discussion to the people of Nevis and St. Kitts, and even to the wider section of the Caribbean region, and even on the international stage of the internet service. And I would like to say, it's time now African people, because we are not Caribbean people and we are not West Indian people. We are ancient Kushite, Nubian, Ikebalan. We're coming from the ancient sea of Africa. And we must respect our tradition because we are the people who try to bring great civilization to this earth. And there is no doubt about that. We would like to say basically, if the government of the Caribbean region who say they still love the people and care about the people, they will put their head together and and stop play tick for tack with the gangsterism, where they're holding up from the old dirty England and feel like this is the way we're going to survive. Is not going to answer and I. It never will answer and I. It's time now because the government them need to understand and them in control. The Freemason who you all are working for and you all are a pledge allegiance with. You all will end up in prison with them.
Hold on.
Yes.
I'm a member of the government. Right?
Yes, Mr. Troy.
Hold on.
Liebert?
I don't know anything about pledging allegiance to anybody. So
you don't pledge to the Queen out here.
So what I want you to do is this, right? Make your point, right?
I'm gonna make it straight and I'm being factual to it.
Try to make
I don't want to make it look like I targeting anything.
Hold on, I'm gonna work with you, I'm working with you.
Aye.
So try to make your point, right, in the best possible way you can without, being disrespectful in any way, right? Because, I am not a part of anything, eh? So I know people love to, I know people love to jam the politicians them and so on, and you could take some blows. I don't mind taking some blows, but let's keep it above board. So.
Okay,
as I said, I'm going to work with you, so go ahead and make your point.
Apologize, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will apologize.
Yeah.
Like that.
I appreciate that.
Basically, in this sense, we need to really put our heads together as a people, African people, and start agitating to the England, the Lords, the House of Commerce, and even to America, who have done wrong to our people in the atrocity during the transatlantic slavery. And it's truly it's time now. They give us reparation, and reparation don't consider about money alone. We are saying restoration. We know you have stole our rubies, our diamond, our land, and even our sapphire. So we ready to reclaim back those things to build back up our mighty cities and empire, so we people can be very fruitful and be very humble to understand life and not both life and one another. Guidance and protection, I.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, we the people of the African descendant, we were once prince and princesses, king and queen, walking the street of gold in Africa, Africa was known as the cradle of civilization. Imhotep was the father of medicine. Sankofa was the first university exists upon this earth here. Right in the midst of Africa. And you talk about compensation, right? For I. The university, I think the Europeans, they have come together and compensate to the University of the West Indies. I think it's 200 million US dollars, something like that. So we the Rastafari, we're pushing forward for reparation in these times because of the wrong which has done to I people over the past 400 years. We're pushing the government because the government are responsible. They have the responsible for setting up the committees, so we can advance ourselves in these times here. Rastafari.
Yes.
So we're staying on the topic of we're 20 minutes after the 9 o'clock hour. You're listening to On the Mark. The lines are open. Numbers to call 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. I must say that we are having a rather interesting conversation. I have with me members of the One Love Rastafari movement here on Nevis. And of course, On the Mark is a show where we talk a lot of politics because the host of the show is a politician. From time to time, we have other persons hosting the show, and most of us are politicians. But politics is not just about votes and so on. It's our goal is about service to the people, about service to the community, and we want to ensure that all sections of the community have a voice. And I think that is very, very important. It's not just about the what you would consider as the mainstream, but we want to ensure that everybody has a voice. We have another caller. The calls have been coming fast and furious tonight. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're on the mark tonight. Yes, caller. Yes, you're on the mark.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
This is Florine.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Sorry to take you off your Rastafari program, but you know when you hear my voice.
Yes, I know.
You know exactly what I'm coming at.
Yes. Please
All
go ahead.
Okay. The Nevis Reno Society will be having our cocktail on the 8th of December. That will be at NEPAC at 7 p.m. So we still have a lot of tickets, and you could purchase your ticket from myself, which is 669-3477, Paulette Hanley, which is 665-1856, Cheryl in Pemberton, which is 669-4185. And we're going to have a cash bar, which means that we're going to have top shelf drinks selling. For the men, we're going to have an assortment as well as the ladies. So make sure everyone puts some money in the pocket that they could have a nice evening. And we're going to have Casanova Band on the ground. And definitely they're going to play some very good music. And last but not least, I have your tickets here for you.
Yes, you know, I'm going to come and collect my tickets.
So how many tickets? Save 2 or probably 5?
When I get there, we'll see how it goes.
No, I want to know, because the tickets are moving very fast.
But
so
you know, I give generously. I'll try to, it won't, maybe it could happen tomorrow afternoon, because I have the Gingerland Secondary graduation in the morning. Maybe after I leave there, I can come and see.
Okay.
But, you know, I will do as much as
Definitely,
I can.
Definitely, usually play a very good part in
yeah.
to support the Reno Society. And we're appealing to the general public to come and have a good evening. It's going to be a cocktail with a difference. Actually, we didn't plan to have anything, but at the last minute, the demand was there for we to have something which you always look forward to have. So we're going to have Casanova playing, and everyone come and have a good time. And while I'm here, I want to thank this establishment and the individual who brought tickets, and make sure at the night of the event, everyone bring along their ticket to be handed over to the door. We really appreciate that. Okay? So see you all there. We're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of dancing. Everything will be great that night. So that will be December the 8th at NEPAC at 7 p.m. Come and enjoy yourself. Thank you, and have a good evening, Mr. Liburn, and to the general public.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Bye.
Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to go back a little bit more on reparation, you know, because we can't really stop talking about reparation this time because it's so important for we to, you know, have it, you know. Every slave, right, that came to the Caribbean, if 5 million slaves came to the Caribbean, the church gets $1 out of that slave, you know. The Queen of England have apologized for the enslavement of I&I people over the past 400-500 years. And myself and Ras IRI been to a global dialogue. In Barbados, we actually, what I'm a Rastafari brethren was, you know, taking the Queen to the court, you know, for compensation, the enslavement of I&I people. And I think it's quite, we're on the right track in this time of Rastafari, you know, fighting for the rights of I&I people to get compensation. It's a wrong which have done to us, the worst atrocity in humanity. you know. And I will continue to fight until I pride is restored, you know, in these times.
Yeah, one or two other things I wanted to mention. The whole issue of cannabis. Right now we have a national commission that's wrapping up their consultation results and so on, preparing to make to file a report on their findings to the government, to Parliament, which hopefully that would advise, inform them when it comes to making a decision as to how we treat the herb, cannabis, marijuana, ganja, whatever we call it. There are a couple concerns that we share in One Love, being a Nevis-based Rastafari movement. Now, that report from the National Commission is going to be sent to the national or the federal government. Now, let's suppose that the federal government speaks in the negative, and so we ain't see that break that we're looking for. We ain't see that ease in the legal status of the herb. Now, where does Nevis stand? Because we could remember some time back, I think it was the former government would have made some propositions in terms of what can be done in Nevis, independent of what Sinkits or the federal says. Now, my question is really and truly, how privy is the Nevis Island administration is going to be to that report? Is that report going to be sent to the Nevis Island administration? Because a lot of the consultation was done in Nevis as well.
I can tell you that we will have sight of the report.
You will, okay.
Yeah, once the report comes out, we will have sight of the report, and of course, we will add. I don't want to say 2 cents because that makes it sound like we're not paying attention to it, but we will have our concerns and, you know, our opinions heard in respect to that.
I know, Mr. Lyward, I'm seeking now an audience with the NIA because we would have met with a lot of different people throughout this federation, but we would not have met with the NIA in its entirety in terms of discussing the herb. And so that is an audience that we are seeking.
I am sure that is something that is possible. I think the right way to go about that would be to send in a note to the office of the Premier, and the Premier would then accommodate.
Definitely.
We have a caller on the line. Let me try to accommodate the caller. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Greetings again, beloved sister and brothers. I have to call out the reparations. Brother, sister and brothers, let me say, we are not begging anyone for reparations. We are demanding reparations.
That's right.
Because our African wealth and labor make Europe and North America what they are today. If you don't believe me, look at North America and Europe especially. Go in the British Museum. You see almost all the stolen wealth and other places in Europe. So we are not begging anybody for anything. We are demanding an African people what is rightfully ours. And let me say, I support the unity movement, but it's a shame and a disgrace that up to this day they don't have a reparation committee in place, a national reparation committee. Come on, Mr. Prime Minister. Come on, Sean. Come on, you're the minister responsible for that. It's a shame and a disgrace, and I'm going to get undone for that. God, that should never be happened to. That should never allow to happen. It's like these, most of these governments in CARICOM is afraid to talk about reparations. Is afraid. The only Prime Minister used to do that on a continuous basis. Is my beloved brother there in Antigua and Barbuda, who I love much. The Honorable Baldwin Spencer, the former Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. And then Gaston Brown, he did it at one time. All I hear coming out from St. Kitts and Nevis, and I must criticize them constructively. Every year they go to the General Assembly and talk about Taiwan. Taiwan ain't got nothing to do with us. When it come out of African people, I mean, they got relationship, diplomatic relationship. I want to hear when my beloved brother Mark Brantley go to the United Nations, when my beloved brother Dr. Harris go to the United Nations on a yearly basis, the thing's supposed to be reparations, and the entire government in CARICOM and those on the African continent too.
Can I jump in and add something? I will tell you what, the governments are here to serve the people and to serve the needs of the people. Okay? And so here's my take on it, this is Troy Liebert take on it, not any party views, not any government views or anything like that. It's not often that I come and I just say, this is Troy Liebert's view. But this is Troy Liebert's view on this. If reparation is an issue and the people make reparation an issue, then the government will have to respond to that being an issue. If it is that you think that reparation is something that the leaders should go to the UN and so on and speak about, then the people ought to make it an issue. If the leaders know that this is an issue for the people and the people insist that it has to be addressed, it will be addressed. Because our democratically elected governments, they're put in by the people. And if you're not doing what the people feel like is important, then you're not going to be around after the next election. And that's just how it goes. So, maybe the way to agitate is to speak to your brothers and your sisters and speak to the people and get to convince them that this is an issue. And once the people in leadership know that, hey, this is something that the people want to see happen, then I assure you it has to happen. Because oftentimes we have people and they have an issue. Maybe 10 people have an issue. And the 10 people want to represent that, hey, this is an issue for everybody. But it might not necessarily be an issue for everybody. So perhaps what you need to do is to find a way to speak to people and bring the issue to them and let people start to gravitate to that issue also. And then you might get the change that you want.
Brother, I've been doing
and that
this
is my
for
view.
years, beloved brother. And Win FM and Junior Station and others, Rascalonji was front and center for years, beloved brother. Speaking about reparations, Rasila X, other brothers been doing this for years, and now these brothers and sisters, beloved brother, you see, but I blame the Rastafari movement again, because when it's election time, they just get together and they don't demand anything in most part of these politicians. If you're going to support a political movement, you must demand things for your people. Must. You just can't just support people blindly. I don't care whether it's the unity movement or People's Action Movement or CCM or NRP or whatever party. You just cannot do that. Our people must be first and foremost, and we must let these politicians know that's the way it is and that's the direction you must go. You're going to come asking me for a vote today, and when you get elected, right? You're a beggar today, and when you get elected tomorrow, you same day, next day, you become a deity, a deitess? No! We employ them, so we must demand the kind of things that they do, beloved. And I am saying again, I'm calling on this administration, put the reparations committee in place.
Yes.
No. And I'm going to beat that drama again. I spoke about it, excuse me, a couple of years ago. I asked about, what's his name, Biff Mills. I think he's responsible for culture or something like that. Up to now, he ain't get back to me. That must be put in place, man. Come on. We can't let these politicians do what they want. They got to do what the majority of the people demand of them. We put them there. And sister and brothers, beat that trauma reparation and educate our people. Our people need to be educated that we are not begging nobody for anything. We are demanding what is rightfully ours.
Yes,
Okay, brother. We have another caller on the line. Let's go to the line again. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Yeah, good night again.
Good night. How are you, my brother?
Okay.
You drop a shot at me when you were leaving, you know.
Well, no, it wasn't you. I was just talking my mind.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Come a little closer to the phone.
A few things. Earlier you said to Mr. Finney that it has been over 400 years since slavery, and we have not yet received reparation. What makes us think that we'll receive it now? Well, based on the information that I have, slavery was not abolished because anybody felt sorry for the slaves. It was the rebellion on the part of the slaves and some leaders that we had amongst the slaves that forced the hand of the Europeans to abolish slavery. Nobody felt sorry for us and grant us no freedom. We fought for it. When I say we, you know what I'm talking about. Our foreparents. You had the rebellion in Brazil, in Haiti, in the United States, in St. John, and I could talk of so much more. It was pressure that was brought on the Europeans. Why slavery was abolished? No way anybody should think that they said one day, oh God, this is wrong. We're making billions of dollars off these people, but this is wrong, so we're going to stop it. In fact, they fought tooth and nail to continue it. So it's because of our foreparents standing up, and demanding their rights and their freedom, why they were free. That's one point. And that was after 400 years. I'm trying to show you something here, you know. That was after the same 400 years. Now, you said a while ago that, and rightfully too, and I agree with you, but I'll say something else, you know. You said that if the people make it a priority, make something a priority, then government would have to listen. And I agree with you as far as that is concerned, but I'll say something else though. Leadership is put there to lead. People choose leaders, any organization, any particular body you have. One of the reasons why you choose out leaders is because you feel that they have leadership skills and they can lead. And whilst it is true that sometimes you would want to have a reasonable consensus from the general populace, you're not saying to me that up to this time, our leaders in the Caribbean here have not seen the need for reparation. You're not saying that, right? Are you saying that?
No, I wasn't saying.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead.
I wasn't saying that at all.
Okay.
The gentleman said that he would like to see.
No, I wanted to clarify, you know.
No, the gentleman said he would like to see some of the leaders.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me go ahead.
The UN
I know
and
you
so
didn't
on.
say it, but I know what I'm saying. So, you put leaders in place to lead, and I for one know that these leaders in the Caribbean know that the Caribbean people feel that we should gain reparation. So, how many people have to agitate and agitate at this point for them to say, well, look, it's time for us to stand up for this thing? Because I know how many decisions government has made without sometimes even consulting with the general populace. And when you say something, they say, but you put us there to lead, we cannot listen to every man. Otherwise, what is going to happen? If you're going to listen to you're going to listen to the learned and the educated, you're going to listen to the dull and the illiterate, you're going to listen to everybody, well then, how are you going to lead? Why is it? I agree. You have to look for consensus. And overruling power is that you put leaders there to lead. And I am sure they know how the people feel about this. And it's time for them to stand up and lead. Or if you cannot lead, get out. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much. We have another caller. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night. Caller? Okay, we've lost that caller. Callers, please be patient with us. We try to listen to the views of everyone, but if you don't get in, call back in, please. Okay, that caller is back. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Yes, good night again, ones and ones. Hi, Eli.
Yeah,
blessed love. I just like to strengthen that last point where the caller really touching on the question pertaining to Mr. Liebert, and you say that the people them have to make government know what they need. Well, I would like to say we need reparation, and that is the cry of our people. Yonder.
Carl, I don't want you to misrepresent me. You know, I didn't say that at all times that everything should be up to the people, because of course the government is put there to lead. But when governments come into office, or before they come into office, or when they come to the people to represent themselves, or when we come to the people to represent ourselves, we normally put out a manifesto of issues and plans and policies that we think are important and that we think that the people will gravitate to. Of course, that would not be a comprehensive list that would include every single thing that is important to people. So if government is there and they're working, and government is dealing with some issues that they feel like are important, but they're not dealing with every single issue, and you, as an individual or as a group, think that you have an issue, and you think that this issue is worth, agitating for or bringing to the fore, or it is something that you think is very, very important and should be at the forefront, then it is on you to agitate for it and ensure that the leader sees that, look, this thing is really important. Okay, we've lost that caller. We have another caller. Caller, you're on the mark. The calls are now coming fast and furious. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Yes, good night.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The only thing that our people need in this present moment is love. They need a direction how to actually love the temple of the Most High, so we can repatriate. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, man, bless, give thanks. Another call?
Yeah, they're coming fast and furious. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night. Hello? Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I just want to just finish up what I was trying to touch on.
Yes, go ahead.
The statement they'll make. Really and truly, we don't take time out and go honor the wars of the World War I and World War II, of the sacrifice was made, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you could take the time out and do that, and how come we can't take the time out and look at the reflection that was taken to our forefathers during the transatlantic slavery, and then start agitating cases to protect these laws that they have done wrong to our people, and they are still gaining success after they have damaged our forefathers during the time of the transatlantic slavery. And if you look now, basically, after even when they do the proclamation of the Slavery Act Bill, and it come into effect in 1833, that they will write it, but the infection come into 1834, and even when it come into effect, George Washington, who was the president of the United States, as they said, the first white president of the United States of America, because the facts show that they had 7 black presidents before he even could sit in there. America history of the Constitution written in the 1776, and George Washington was president at that time. So we know factual history. Now we just want to bring this into reality to our people, that they have damaged our mind, our body, and our life. But we have rekindled because the light shines through the powers of the Most High, which they cannot stop. So INI is here now, engaging the agitation, as you should be joining in that effort. As you say, you have your opinion, but we say now we have the facts to prove what we're agitating for. So these people who are benefiting in the economical market can start putting back what they have stolen for over the years. May you all have a safe night.
Thanks.
Thank you, caller. We have about 10 minutes more, so we will go into a little wrap-up.
Yeah,
I want to start off the wrap-up.
Well, I can. I wanted to highlight just 2 things quickly, though. There's a fundraiser that the organization has put on, basically asking for persons to, you know, just make a contribution to us of $20, and you stand a good chance of winning a shopping voucher that is equivalent to about, I think it's about $800. The shopping voucher is equivalent to. You won't get the cash, you'll basically just get vouchers where you can support your local businesses. It's just $20 a chance for the raffle. The raffle takes place at the Natural Liberty Farm this coming Saturday. So come on out and spend the evening with us out there, and you know, support the organization as we raise funds for community efforts. We have Kwanzaa coming up in December, from the 26th December to the 1st of January. We are going to be celebrating out there at Natural Liberty as well. One of the things I want to touch on, may not have time to expound, but you know, is INI diet. And as Rastafari, we are very concerned right now as to what we see happening in St. Kitts and Nevis when it comes to people and their diet. We see people literally eating themselves to death, and it's very troubling. We see the non-communicable diseases that are seriously taking over our country, and I say it's a shame, because we can do better. If a matter we are getting sick by our lifestyle, it simply means just changing your lifestyle. And I want to challenge the government, though, because the government is actually contributing to this kind of behavior. Because if you're going to subsidize things like white flour and white sugar and all these things, you're encouraging people to eat unhealthy, and thus you're making healthy foods more expensive. We want to see the agriculture department done away with all these harmful chemicals that they know are harmful, and encourage organic farming. We want to see things like chewing gum and lollipop and conkers being banned out of our schools. We have our school children consuming these things 9 o'clock in the morning. No wonder, Mr. Minister, and this is up your street. This is how we create criminals. This is how we create people who cannot learn, because that amount of sugar that they consume so early in the morning, their retention span, by 10 o'clock they ain't hear a thing teacher saying. They're so hyper they cannot behave, and so thus we run into all these problems, and then the health issues. So I'm just going to skim the surface of that, but we're going to come back on a full program, because I think this country is sleeping when it comes to eliminating non-communicable diseases. I just want to encourage ones and ones to support the One Love Rastafari movement, but I want to close by speaking to Rastafari. This is not time for INI to separate INI selves. Whether you like Ras IY or not has nothing to do with Rastafari, because what we are doing, we are neglecting our responsibility as Rastafari. His Majesty didn't command us to be Rastafari, to be sitting down and watching what is happening to our black people happen on this level while we sit aside in our little corners and refuse to unite. And if you are not thinking unity is strength, and if you're not thinking supporting the Rastafari movement to deal with issues that we have as Rasta, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you that this is not time for Rasta to be on the back burner. The time is now. Everything that Rastafari had suffered for, everything that Rastafari has propagated over the years, you see now the whole world is taking it up. And then Rastafari is sitting back and not being there in the position to take a piece of the pie. Wake up, Rasta man. Come on, but Marley say wake up and live. Haile Selassie.
Empress?
Yes, I too would like to close off by asking the general public to support the group and also to support our fundraiser activity on Saturday. And just bear in mind that the $20 that you will be contributing to our fundraiser goes right back into the community, goes right back into assisting our youth when it comes to school supplies, healthy eating, and all of that, because we do help with that. And I also want to encourage Minister Choi, as the Junior Minister of Education, to look into that healthy eating in our schools as well, because it is a big issue. And as you said before, once you have an issue, bring it to the government. So we're bringing it to the government here to please look into that. And I just want to say thanks again for listening, and just remember to support us. Give thanks.
Rastafari. I myself as a Rastaman, I would like to see the other elders, bridges and son out there wake up, organize and centralize yourself, as His Imperial Majesty has said, and come and join us at the One Love Rastafari movement on Saturday night. We can, we have a good session going, reasoning. Far can advance, and that's what we're here doing, highly high. I would just like to give thanks to the Honorable Mark Brantley, Child Iward, for having us on the program tonight, and we're looking forward, for more programs like this. In closing, I will chant the Ethiopian Creed. Prince and Princess shall shout out of Ethiopia. Ethiopia shall soon stretch forth a hand to the Most High. The Most High of Ethiopia, the Irish shall into an eye heart to dwell. In the path of righteousness lead us. Help us to live so that we must be forgiven. Teach us love, loyalty on earth as it is in Mount Zion. Endows us with a wise mind, knowledge, and understanding to thy will. Thy blessing now with us, O the Most High. So let the blind be led, the hunger be fed, the naked be clothed, the infants care for the sick be nourished, aged be protected. Deliver us from the hands of our enemies, that we may be fruitful in these perilous days. As our enemies passes by and decay in the depths of the sea, in the depths of the earth, in the belly of the beast, and in the lake of fire. Give us a place with the everlasting kingsman, to the power of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect himself and light to the world. His own divine majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie and Empress Menenai, who are the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning without end, the first and forever, the protectorate of our human faith, and the ruler of the Iverse. For Haile Selassie, King Rastafari, Empress Menenai, great ancestors, great gods and goddesses of the ancient and black eternal race. Glory to word and glory to sound, glory to the power of the living eye. Haile Selassie, King Rastafari. So let the words of thy mouth and the meditation of thy heart be accepted in thy sight. Haile Selassie is strength and thy redeemer, Rastafari. One perfect love. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. And Marcus, you did tell me that you want the whole 2 hours, and you definitely have taken the whole 2 hours. And I must say that it's been a very interesting show, and of course, it's been my pleasure to be here with you. And whenever you call, we always try to accommodate. And I think that it is very, very important that a forum like this, we say we are straight talk across the narrows, and we try as much as possible to be an avenue so that all sectors of the society can be heard. We try to give a voice to all sectors of the society. Of course, the One Love Rastafari movement, as you have heard tonight, they are involved in many charitable activities. They're working with our kids. They are working with the natural foods and so on. And importantly, they are championing the cause for reparation and so on. And they have also been championing the cause for the legalization. Yes. Let me get it right. Yes. Not the decriminalization, but the legalization of the marijuana. And of course, that is still an issue that, you know, in the society as a broad society, there are still some yeses and there are some no's about it. But, you know, as we continue to be educated and as we continue to be enlightened, we will see how that one goes. I know that the trend now in the world out there, the world is trending towards legalization in some areas, and some persons have taken this step of decriminalization. We here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have started the dialogue, and you know, one of these days, maybe when the show's regular host, the Honorable Mark Brantley, decides, I think we'll both come on the show and give our personal opinion, because I have a personal opinion. I've tried as much as possible when I come on the show to take the views of the public in most things that we do. When we come on the Mark Show, we try to take the views of the public. Of course, we try to guide views where it's necessary, but on some issues we want to let the general public have a say. Let the different groups in the general public have a say. But I think sometime in the not too distant future, hopefully, sooner rather than later, I'll come and I'll give my own views on the matter, and I have some real interesting views, you know. So, gentlemen, Ras Marcus, Empress Shelley, Ras Iroy, it was a pleasure to be here with you. I want to thank you all for coming. Of course, before I go, I want to mention the two events that I had mentioned at the beginning. The Gingerama Dance, that's on Friday night. That's $25 at the Village. They're going to be having the Grandmasters, I think. Hold on. Let me look for Eric. Eric message. Come on. One second. I want to get it right, you know. So I am looking for the message. Okay, here we go. So we have the Gingerama Committee Dance. That's on Friday. And we have the Grandmasters, the Collision Band, DJ Terror, and Ecstasy. That's Friday night. $25 will get you in. Saturday night, we have the Empire Sports Club having the 35 and over dance with Casinova Band and DJ Bulf. Admission is $20. Of course, it was a pleasure having you on the Mark. This show will be rebroadcast tomorrow at 1. Thank you and have a wonderful night.